It's a yeah. Let me love you too. Let me love you, church. Why am I here? It's a very good question. Well, I woke up last night. I'm used to being pleasantly drunk at about midnight, but I woke up last night and I began to purge myself of whatever is inside of this fleshy vessel. Not of my intelligence did I purge, I hope. Not of my frontal lobes or anything like that, but whatever it is that was inside me is no longer there. It has all went into the toilet bowl and into a special receptacle that I keep around the house with the express purpose of vomiting into. And so I am going to attempt, Doppelganger.
Hello.
Hello. I'm going to attempt to drink a beer. And besides about 2 sips of water, that will be, if I can hold it down, it will be the only thing that I've held down since, I don't know, last time I seen you yesterday. Because and I tell you, I wish I was hungover. This is the worst thing that's happened to me in a while. This is bad.
That's terribly unfortunate. And wow, I couldn't even begin guessing what could have possibly caused it. Well, I sure hope we can still get the show rolling somehow. Hopefully you can take a back seat today and try to recuperate as much as you can. And maybe, just maybe, some of our usual crew will take over for today and keep the viewers happy. In any case, I don't think we have all that much news prepared for you today, unless you have something of your own of the news.
I tried to make it clear. I got out of bed about 10 minutes ago. I haven't been out of bed. I just put clothes on. I'm a little delirious. I think I have a fever. The last time I checked, it was 101. We're going to talk about what I wanted to talk about. Do you think anything happens when we die? Because if I die from this, I want a little encouragement that either no, nothing happens, you're poof gone, or do you think that it's possible that there is some kind of knowledge or some kind of continuation of our id, of our self, of our mind?
That's a complex one, and long story short, I do believe there is something. I'm not quite sure I got it right from various sources I got it, but least that could be said is that we aren't just material body. We are also the ideas, the concepts that we carry within and share with our sisters and brothers, and at least those will remain among them. So our sisters and brothers will remember us, will remember our ideas, will remember what we did, and that's for sure something that will remain. However, I believe there is more to it. So, well, we shall see.
Yeah, I think that's because I've never talked to, I hear all this about, near-death experience and the light, and that's nonsense. Every last case of it. What happens is when we go to die, our brain produces a very powerful drug that is just like ayahuasca. I don't know if you've heard of ayahuasca. And yeah, it is there as a mechanism that human beings have, that when the end comes, you release this powerful drug and you accept your fate, and you can go to it like Staub from Moby Dick. Whatever your fate is, friend, I pray that you go to it smiling. And Dop, whatever my fate may be, whether it's trapped in a car that's burning around me, whether it's a terrible plane accident, a catastrophic stroke or heart attack, whether I'm beaten to death or shot, whether who knows, any of these things, my promise to you as my friend, and my promise to everyone that can hear me, is whatever my fate is, go to it laughing.
Yeah, that's the least we can do. And frankly, I also hope that whatever I do last, well, will be something I could take some pride in. And I really wouldn't want to die, like, I don't know, while asleep or something.
Well, that beer didn't last very long. And Freighter Watcher, I'm gonna get some rest, Freighter. I almost didn't do the show today, but here's the thing: Sydney Rough Diamond's there, and I've come to face the facts in life that some things we do because we want to, and there's precious little of that in there. But some things we do because we feel a need to do it. We feel an obligation to do it. And I can hear my beloved old father right now saying, hey, boy, what you gonna do? Lay in bed all day? If you gotta be sick, why don't you get something done? So this is my way of trying to get something done. And that first swallow of beer came up pretty quickly. But I must say, it tasted so good that I'm going to give it another shot and see what happens.
Well, all I can think of right now is that you're trying basically homeopathic medicine, in that you're trying to cure the yesterday's excesses with a little of excess today.
No, we don't go for that homosexual shit around here, mate. But what I'm trying to tell you is, I wish I was hungover. I think the Freighter Watcher hit the nail on the head. I have a very guilty pleasure. I like Hormel tamales. They come in a can, and they're wrapped with paper instead of like a leaf, like the Mexicans actually do it when they put the banana, or not the banana, but the corn shuck around. But they come and they got like this meat thing and stuff in there that I'm sure is pink slime. Oh man, even talking about it right now is making me ill. I'm sure that's what got me. So, excuse me. I'm telling you, even thinking about it, it's making me feel so ill. And also, I'm a professional. I've had so many hangovers that if I was hungover, I'd be like, oh, I'm fucking hungover. I mean, I've done that before. I've never had a hangover that gave me 101-degree fever and made me shake like a leaf. But I think the Hormel company got me. And I've tried it in the past. Like, you know, if you get food poisoning, you're supposed to be able to sue the bastards. They're not supposed to be able to give you bad food. But I went to the hospital. It cost me a bunch of money. They took the contents of my stomach. And what they basically told me is, oh, yeah, you got food poison. You got botulism toxin, whatever. Yeah, botulism. And botulinum toxin or whatever it is. And but we can't pinpoint which of these things in your belly gave it to you. So thank you so much for all the money that you spent here today. It come up to around $4,000. And now that we know that you're very ill and there's nothing we can do for you short of giving you the couple bags of IV, which each one of them cost about $600 for a fucking bag of saline, man. I'm not even joking. Go home. So what I'm doing now is, I don't know. A lot of people run off to the doctor. They stub their big toe, doppelganger. Like, oh, my big toe stub. I'm going to go to the hospital. You daggone sissies. Buck up, little soldiers. There's nothing that doctors can do for you. If you've ruined your life, or if Mark pointed out, because it was my excess. It wasn't my excess in drinking this time, but it was my excess in liking those things. No one should eat that crap. Hormel is poison.
One thing I can think of from recent news is semi-related to that. Apparently, there's been a new Miss USA selected. Let me share the link with you. Maybe you can bring it up.
Oh, yeah, but she hates people, man. I seen that thing, that bitch. She was like, they asked her, or I think I know where you're going.
And among other things she said was something regarding healthcare.
Yeah, she said it wasn't a human right. What, she has no heart. It's everybody's human right to steal my money so they can have health care.
Well, it's a complex case in that basically, obviously, we cannot spend unlimited resources on saving somebody's life, no matter how much we may wish for that. So I believe at some point, even the NASA itself calculated what's the reasonable amount of money to spend on saving somebody's life or preserving somebody's life. And I believe they came with a sum around $1 million. It was a rough estimate. In any case, obviously, you cannot simply say that everybody is guaranteed, free healthcare no matter what. There has to be some limits. So it's a matter of limits. In your case, I don't know. I think if you can get some professional to look at your case, that should probably be the best.
I did. Yeah, I was working on it. I'm really only hitting on like 6 cylinders out of 8, but I did. I know a chick that's a nurse, and I went and she gave me a blowjob this morning and told me everything was going to be fine. No, I made that up. I just made that up. But I do know a girl that's a nurse, and she didn't give me a blowjob, but she did tell me whatever's wrong with you, whether it's stomach flu or food poisoning, it's one of the two. There's nothing I can do. I mean, I could go and pay somebody some money, and here's the deal too, Dop. I'm not stupid. If I did get that last swallow to stay down, and believe me, I'm not so stupid as just to drink beer. As soon as this beer gets there, I'm going to drink some water, quite a lot of water. But if I couldn't drink water, I would go to the hospital just to get a $600 IV because you can die if you don't have water.
Basically, any stomach trouble can very easily lead to dehydration, and supposedly once that process starts, it's actually surprisingly hard to reverse it. So by all means, take care of that, and it's a good signal that you can actually drink and keep what you drank.
I'm going to try again. I did swallow. The first one is in the wastebasket, the first swallow, but the second one stayed down. So Doppelganger, Here's to you, mate. Here's to you, sir. I love you.
Oh, thank you very much. And may this one just stay in just as well.
It actually tasted good that time. I'm going to tell you, and this is gross, but hey, I'm a gross old ogre. I can't believe how much bowel movement and vomit came out of me. I was thinking, I was leaning over my bed, vomiting, and as the vomitus was drooling and dripping down my beard, and I'm looking at it like, it's in my beard, and I was thinking to myself, what is that vile-smelling greenish yellow stuff? And it hit me. It's vile bile. I mean, I vomited until the bile down there was, and I don't even. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But that said, Review the Earth is ill. He said he was sick, so it could be just something going around here. But oh my gracious, I mean, it's probably 60 degrees in here, and I'm sweating like a Jew in court.
Oh, this is terrible, mate.
Yeah, but we need to pick it up with you. We need to pick it up. Be happy though, like you've tried to get me to do several times. I would say that the lady that the Miss Washington, D.C. I think they say that for that horrible thing she said, that we're responsible for our own well-being, that other people are not responsible to take care of us. I think for that horrible thing she said, she should be stripped of her title, lose her job, and be forced to live in a box in Central Park.
Are you serious now? Or are you being sarcastic? Because I can't quite
understand. Being sarcastic, dude. It ain't my business to pay for, I ain't even gonna say any name, but I talk to a person all the time. And I could use her pseudonym, but people see her here all the time. So I'm not going to even use her pseudonym. But I talked to this human being that thinks that because I have some guitars and because I've made good business deals in my life and because I've been careful with my money, that I should now give her my fucking money so that she can go to the motherfucking hospital because she's a moron that never saved a fucking dime, never negotiated for more money on her paycheck, she don't even work. And now she wants money. No, get your fucking hands. And if it was anybody other than the United States government, I'm half sauce, so I'm not going to pull out what I've got sitting right down here. But if anybody knocks on my door to take what's mine right now that doesn't have a badge and would just gun me down like a dog, they die.
Oh actually, I have a more complex view on that, but I'm not quite sure if you want to go into the.
No, I want to hear it, Dop. I really do. I love other. You know me, man. I want you to have your own opinion, and I want to hear it.
Okay, so let's go there. Basically, I believe that the country or the government rather regulates certain aspects of business and earning capabilities of individuals. Very easy example would be that law prohibits underage people from working. This is something that people used to do back in old age, back in times ages ago, and now unless you're an adult, you cannot really work. So this creates certain unbalance on the market, and in a way, various actions by government that may seem simply socialistic or socialism are in a way basically restoring balance to the market. Maybe that's not the best example, but I think you're catching my drift in here, in that there are regulations which are perfectly necessary for various reasons, but nonetheless they introduce some forces on the market or introduce some unbalance between buyers, sellers of work or of employment, and some things are necessary to balance that, or rather to even that out.
Yeah, but you know what? You're going to hate me for this. Making it so that young kids can't work is one of the worst things that they've done to poor families. That is not a good thing. Now, working conditions, doppelganger. In other words, don't have a sweatshop. I don't believe in minimum wage, mate. That's ridiculous. That is a very racist thing. They implicated that minimum wage after apartheid in South Africa to keep black people from getting jobs, because if you have to pay somebody a certain wage, set wage, you're always going to pick the most, I hate to say desirable, whatever's most desirable to you. So the idea is that if we make a minimum wage or if we don't let kids work, it's going to protect
right.
you, and then everybody's going to make more money. No. If you say you can't work until you're 18, man, I wanted a job working somewhere other than my father's transmission shop when I was about 13. I was very capable. I was a very hard worker. No one would hire me because I was 13. I wouldn't have been being exploited. I was freaking 5'11", weighed 170 pounds, and I was a monster when I was a kid, and I loved to work. So
exactly,
laws do not solve anything. The people.
There is another example related to minimum wage. Basically, in my country, whenever you employ somebody, you have to pay certain social and medical insurances, which is another aspect of similar to minimum wage, in that there is fixed cost, and basically any business cannot hire anybody whose work would be worth less, or would be on the border of being worth as much as the mandatory insurance, which again creates certain barriers to entry to the job market, and basically makes that so some people cannot find gainful employment. And in that case, I believe, again, this legislation has some merit. Okay, it helps in some cases, but I believe there needs to be some legislation that counters the negative effects of that. Because the primary legislation, the one that mandates the insurance, be it social or health insurance, has some merit, but it also creates a significant imbalance on the market. It basically ends up excluding certain portion of citizens from being able to actually find work. So what gives? If the country, for whatever reason, makes it so that they cannot find work, let the country give them at least something back in return. And again, it's not. I'm not looking at it from the point of view of socialism. It's more that I want the market to be actually balanced. I want it to be actually free, in that every participant in the market should have more or less equal opportunity.
Yeah, I'll always
maybe rather equal starting point. Oh, that would be a better way to put it.
Yeah, I'll always stand by my one firm idea that laws don't work. The only laws that work are don't steal, don't kill. That's it. You can't make any other laws. If you try to make another law, and we used to say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yeah, ignorance of the law is no excuse when it's don't hurt, don't kill. So that takes out, I mean, you can't, because people say that's not enough. Yes, it is. Don't hurt, don't kill. That covers everything. If you steal from me, you hurt me. It covers everything. So making laws, now we have, this room that I'm in is something like 14 by 14. This is nowhere near enough to stack the law books up for this country. Nowhere near. So Britisher, how in the world can I not say, how can they say that ignorance of the law is no excuse when my house would not hold the library that is the laws of the United States?
Good evening. Well, yes, that is one of those big questions, because the law is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And how shall we say, the governments tend to be much more hyperactive these days than they ever were in the past. So,
hello, Britisher.
Good evening. I think it was said one day that I think pretty much up to the 1900s or something, or I think up to the Second World War or something like that, Britain had a law and order bill every 50 years or so, whereas we've since had one every year, and the going in the last 10, 20 years has been one every half year. So kind of the creation of law seems to be speeding up. So yes, I can understand to a point what you mean, whereby, how can ignorance of the law not be a defense when it is actually humanly impossible to actually know the entire body of law? I guess one would say that you are responsible for knowing the law in the area in which you're active, which therefore means that it should be within your powers to inform yourself. One of the aspects of that is, however, that it still falls upon governments to actually draft law which can be understood. Because one of the main problems is these days that laws very often are worded so vaguely so that one can kind of make them fit according to whom one wants to charge, which therefore then makes it very difficult to actually A, know what the hell has been banned in the first place, and B, makes it almost impossible to defend yourself against it.
Yeah, that's and completely impossible. Britisher, by the way, if I die from some weird food poisoning or something today, I want you to have my 1982 Iceman ICB 130 right there. It's worth a little bit of money, not a ton, but it's worth, a few hundred quid. But it's the sentimental value. At least you could look at the guitar and you could say, well, I used to know the ogre, now he's gone.
Precisely, yes. But mind you, judging from here, you do not look as if you're about to die any moment.
I have the constitution of 12 men. I have been up vomiting, mate. I got up to look at my Twitter when I sent you a Twitter earlier. Yep. I've been up vomiting and defecating since midnight. I did not know there was that much stuff in my body. At the beginning of the show, I took a drink of this beer and I vomited it right up. Now, I did hold down the last swallow. But no, I'm probably not going to die. I'm just being dramatic.
So there is, so what you're saying is something got into your body which desperately wants to get out again.
I think it was Hormel tamales. These freaking they're delicious to me, but they're basically like.
Well, they sound like something that might want to get out of your body.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I can guarantee you, if I opened up a can of them and dumped them out, you would just look at them. You would look at them and be like, "Really, Mr. Ogre?" And that would be probably it. I don't think you'd even touch it, let alone eat it. But 101 degree fever the last I checked.
Ouch.
Yeah. It kind of makes it's almost like a bonus, because I feel so high and delirious that it's almost like I took a really good psychotropic drug.
I think we're beginning to discover the benefits of cucumber sandwiches.
Yeah, you and Jenny. Jenny loves it. And I got off. Did you hear us talking earlier? Because we're talking about ignorance of the law, no excuse and whatnot. But in Britain, apparently, if you stub your toe, you can go to the hospital. The only requirement, the prerequisite, is that you are from Britannia. And then, you go and the doctor comes out, you wait for 17 days, your toe falls off, the doctor comes up, whatever. But here, we don't go that route. We're Americans, and we do believe in, do for yourself or die, for lack of a better way to put it. And man, did you see what did you follow the Miss America thing at all?
No, I've heard that there was. I heard that some Miss America candidate, or either that or the crowned Miss America, said something about not being all too friendly of socialism, and then
Neither of feminism.
oh, was it
Yeah,
feminism?
well, and Dop was so cool. He already had this pulled up here, Brett. This is from the Daily Mail, so you should appreciate that. I do believe that it is a British publication. It says, Miss Conservative, ! African American nuclear chemist. She's a nuclear chemist, mate. And she is not African American. I'm sure she'd be the first to tell you she's a bloody American. So look, African American nuclear chemist who doesn't like to call herself a feminist and says healthcare is a privilege, is crowned Miss USA. And oh my goodness, you'd think that she pulled a Donald Trump and killed off some pandas and rolled around in their blood.
Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. You should have seen what happened to Kelvin McKenzie over here. He dared to make a comment about a footballer. And of course, using rather colorful language, he referred to him as a gorilla. Because, he's a huge, big, lumbering giant of a guy. Oh, well, immediately he was accused of racism. Because this perfectly white guy, who to look at is clearly white, apparently had a Nigerian grandfather. So his having referred to him as a gorilla was obviously racist.
Do you mean the gorilla? You talking about the gorilla had a grandfather that was Nigerian?
Yes.
Oh,
Even
mercy.
though actually to look at the player, he's completely white.
Hey,
So-
ignorance of the race is no excuse, Brett.
Yes, thank you. Yes, precisely. He's completely white looking. He's completely white. Clearly, the guy who made the comment didn't know that there was any black ancestry in this player's background, and referred to him as a gorilla simply because he was against his team and wanted to But yeah, this was immediately then called a racial slur, and you just go, hang on a moment. I mean, how the hell should one know about that? So
So
it kind
basically-
of shows you can be attacked. You can be attacked for anything these days.
Basically, situation comparable to one Senator Elizabeth Warren, right?
Oh,
You wouldn't really tell
Pocahontas?
she's got Indian American heritage.
You
Or
mean
mixed
Pocahontas?
Yep, that's her.
nah, man. And you know what? She's like, okay, here's the deal. I found out some stuff most people know. I ain't gonna rehash the old deal, but I found out my heritage at a relatively old age. I was 12 years old, 13 years old when I first realized where my people came from. So as this Ancestry.com and stuff got popular, about 3 or 4 years ago, before the price came down, I paid a pretty good amount of money to find out that I am 7/8. I'd have to look it up. So, I'm Jewish. In fact, the kind of Jewish that they say is European, and I'm Scottish. I've one, and then actually there's like a 3% they said they didn't know, or I don't know. It was really weird how they broke down the numbers. It wasn't 75 and then 25. It didn't work like that. It was some strange things. Why you can't, until I actually had that, I would tell people that my grandmother was Weinbrenner and that my Jewish uncle was in World War II, the whole 9 yards. But let's face the facts. What they say about Senator Warren, folks, is so disgusting that they say, well, of course she is 1/16th, I think they said. I actually think it might have been more diluted than that, 1/32nd Native American Indian, because of the stories passed down to her from her. Well, listen, my wife and I had a really good jolly joke and jovial chuckle over that one, because my wife has been told by one of her grandfathers who's now passed away that she was part Cherokee for a long time. Everybody knows they're not. My wife is Irish to the core and a little bit of English. That's it. She's pasty white. She has red hair everywhere. And anyway, so you can't just say, oh, Britisher told me that his great grandpa one day said that he was, from the wild blue men of Ireland or Scotland, I should say. And no, You either know what you are and who you are, or don't go out. That's real cult. I'm rambling. That's real cultural appropriation.
Actually, now that you come to mention it, you know, given the ancient stories that were handed down to me, I am 1/837th related to King Arthur. So if the House of Windsor would please step aside and let me and allow me to ascend, you know, to my rightful place, I would be appreciative of that.
Well, because you know that kind of royal blood, no matter how dilute, would be very, you know, of course.
Now that's something. That's something to explain your posh accent.
Well, of course. See, I mean, you know, it's
It's all there.
and I'm sure that I
Plain
can
to see.
produce a butter knife called Excalibur should it be required.
But
Ah,
can you pull it
yes.
out of the drawer?
Yes, yeah, precisely. I will draw it from the drawer. Yes.
Yeah, well, and that just goes to show you that, I mean, we all have family stories. I would tell you some of the ones that my Jewish father, and it was a Rolling Stone, told me, but they're so unbelievable that we all knew they were lies. He knew that we knew they were lies. It's just, I don't know. We come from a generation where TV kind of sucked, and you only had 3 channels where I was at anyway, and so maybe you had a good show on a couple times a week. The rest of the time, it was books. Books was TV, and people talking and telling you tall tales and whatnot. I wouldn't take it as gospel, is what I'm saying.
Those were the days. Yes, I am of the same generation, Olga. I can actually remember a day before the internet, before mobile phones. In fact, even before the day in which everybody had a computer at home.
This reminds me how very much puzzled I was the other day when I saw my first mobile phone. I mean, the same model, not the same example, in a museum of technology. That was just brain overload, something that I was using just a few years earlier, now in museum.
Yes, it's rather scary the way technology has gone. Mind you, I think too much effort has been put into incrementally improving, you know, a limited number of technologies, such as mobile phones and so on. And very, very little effort has gone into actually trying to find some fundamental new technologies.
Good Lord, Britisher. I just opened this up. It's
Yes.
not like the whole world doesn't assume that every Englishman with that accent's a poof anyway. And now
Well,
they're
you
going to
know,
have
now
boys wearing dresses in school.
Well, it just means that they will be permitted to wear skirts should they want to.
Well, yeah, but you know, with that, you know, that, what's his name? The Prince of Bel-Air's son. Oh, man, I'm telling you, this fever's got me. I can't even think. The Jaden and the other kid, Will Smith's son.
Yes.
If you look, they named the boy after the mother, and that Jaden, his mom's name is Jada. They named the girl after Willow. No joke. The girl, just look up pictures. The girl has always dressed like a boy. The boy wears effing dresses, mate. And I understand, you know, whatever, tolerance and what have you. Give me a break, Holy Mary, on a fucking jumped up crutch. You can't, you don't do that. Put on a kilt, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I wonder if Jonah Lomu wore a skirt to school.
But he did, but that's, you know, he did. You know, I don't know a skirt,
No,
but
he
he
will
wore
not
that,
have done.
that thing. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't go up to, I know he's passed on, but even the thought of it that he's dead kind of makes me a little afraid. I can't imagine going up to the mighty Jonah Lomu and going, hey, nice dress, Jonah. I wouldn't, because it's not for one. Anyway.
Actually, in that regard, there is a rather amusing story regarding Jonah Lomu. And that is, there was a, you know, over here they went bananas somewhere sort of in the late 90s or early 2000s, I think, with lots of different panel shows. And one panel show was called They Think It's All Over, which is a very famous sporting line I won't go into over here in England. And what they did is they had, they basically had a sort of a panel, and they sort of played various quiz games and whatever. And in the end, they would always have a section called Feel the Sportsman. And effectively, 2 people of the panel would be selected who would have to wear they would have to wear eye masks in order not to be able to see, blindfolds. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for. And they would just basically bring someone in, someone from the sporting world, and they would basically have to feel them and try and discern who the hell they are. Because, I mean, obviously sportsmen have rather distinctive physiques given what sport they actually play. Well, what was so interesting is, I mean, you can obviously guess that what it is leading up to is that Jonah Lomu eventually walked on. But what preceded this was an exchange where somewhere during one of the earlier quizzes, Jonah Lomu was actually mentioned, because obviously he was the greatest rugby player of his age, possibly ever. And what happened was that one of the comedians in the panel just went, Jonah Lomu's nothing but a puff. And Chris Eubank, who was an absolutely deadly, I think he was a middleweight boxer, he just sort of goggled at this comedian and went, well, yeah, but a bloody big puff. So of course, the presenter immediately brought everything to a halt and said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make it absolutely clear here that Chris Eubank has just let it be known that he thinks Jonah Lomu is nothing but a big puff. So I think you can imagine the looks that were exchanged when later, to everyone's surprise, Jonah Lomu walked into the studio.
He was the feel the star.
No, he was the feel the star, but as luck had it, Chris Eubank wasn't the one who had to go feeling him.
Yeah, since you turned me on to that dude.
Chris Eubank, by the way, was one of those boxers I showed you once.
I know who he is.
The one who took who basically did the uppercut, whom you looked at and went, yes, that man understands the sweet art of boxing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know who he was until you turned me on. Now, who was the Eubanks and who was the other guy that he boxed? He wasn't as famous, but
Nigel Benn?
Yeah,
Nigel Benn was his nemesis. Those two were ferocious.
Yeah,
yes.
I have to say that the only boxing match that I can think of is Ward Gulata that compares with the wars those boys had. And if anybody out there doesn't know who Andrew Gulata was, he was a great man that somehow or another jumped off of a balcony on a very tall motel, I believe in Rio de Janeiro, while he was having a fight with his wife, who was pretty tough. She probably threw his ass off when he wasn't expecting. Anyway, I think everybody knows who Irish Mickey Ward is, right?
Yes, you showed me some clips of his. That was pretty impressive.
And well, that's why I like Eubanks, because it's one thing if you're there in the sweet science and you're in the pocket and you're beating somebody up like this. You're giving them what you got up here. But when you see somebody drop back, do one of these right here and go, well, bam, right here. And when you see somebody crumple somebody else with a body shot like that wearing boxing gloves, it always makes my willy a little stiff, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's one unique way of expressing it.
I can't. Well, that's because I can name right now Mike Tyson, Irish Mickey Ward, Andrew Gulata, and boy, I really am having a brain seizure. Tommy Morrison. Those are the four hardest body shot hitting sons of bitches that ever walked the face of the earth. And I would much rather Mike Tyson in his prime punch me right between the eyes with all he had with an overhand right than take one of those body shots. Because your face will heal up really quick. Your head's really, really hard. Somebody gets you in the kidney really good or gets you in the liver really good, that's a bad year. Anyway, I love boxing. I don't know. I really am delirious. You know what, boys? Because I think Dop's going to drop out at the hour. Church is not going to go past 2 hours a day. I do feel a certain amount of obligation. That's why I'm here. But also, I say that so people think I'm really cool. I love this. I really like speaking to the people out there. And I don't know. I felt like such utter dog crap that just this little bit of communication and I don't know. I don't want to, like I do. I say it every day. But the idea that I'm talking to a guy from another planet and a dude from England right now, it makes me seem really cool. A lot cooler. Look at my beard. I think there's some vomit in it, Britt.
Oh.
I need a
You
shower.
would point out something like that, wouldn't you?
Well, I was looking at myself there and I realized there was a chunk there.
Ah,
That's not bad. Oh no, I washed my face. I'm just trying to be a jackass, man. I'm telling you, I'm a little
by the way,
delayed.
I actually completely missed my intro today because I was absolutely determined to come on and said, "Hello, Buford."
Hey, that went off like a hitch on my channel. I mean, you got a ton of views. I enjoy the satire so much. I do have to admit to you, I've been racking my brains and I have some ideas, but I guess what it is us Americans, you Brits are geniuses at satire, and you happen to be a really good satirist. And so when I think about, every time I try to think of something, it always comes out sounding stupid instead of funny.
If just because I know you will enjoy hearing this, Count Dankula has let it be known that his favorite bit is you're declaring that Trump is a messenger of God.
Yeah, you must have liked how I said of God. I mean, I tried to put it on right there. You know?
It was that very moment, and I think that cracked him up. He said that was the moment he almost died.
Oh, that's great. I'm so, hey, you know one thing, and I would like to say we, but if you can make, because all I did was read my lines. You told me how it should be presented, and you told me what to say. I just read those. I didn't. In fact, I think I added 2 words because one thing seemed a little bit cut off. But other than that, if you make Dankula laugh, you're a funny motherfucker, dude.
Well, if I recall correctly, there was one particular moment when you definitely broke up.
Yeah,
I've got that on video. I'm definitely intending to use that at some point.
Yeah, and you know when it was. It was the whole Trump has penned the hits of the last 20 years.
Yes, it was the music thing that got to you.
Well,
yes.
And it was not only the idea, because the way you wrote it, you were like, he is so shy and retiring and so unwilling to toot his own trumpet.
Here he goes again.
I'm sorry, because I can't think about it, because you imagine Trump. I mean, that's all the son of a bitch does is toot his own trumpet. They're like, hey, Trump, you're a real jackass. He's like, yeah, I'm the hugest jackass you've ever met, ain't I? You know, he'd be like proud of that. It doesn't matter what you throw at him. He's like, yeah, I'm the best, ain't I? You know, I mean, holy crap. I would say this, as much as I admire Trump, I do, and as much as I do think that for our time, you might not like to hear this, I think he's the best person that could be president for our time. I would never imagine myself sitting down to dinner with the mother son of a gun. I mean, 2 scoops of ice cream, mate. I don't know. I don't think that we would get along. I would probably punch him out and have the Secret Service beat me to a bloody pulp is what would happen.
Yes, that would be.
Oh, and I just realized I said that out loud. That was satire, and I, of course, would never raise my hand to the President of the United States, nor would I condone any kind of violence toward our great and honorable leader. Praise be upon him.
Yes, I think I know where you got that line, praise be upon him, from. Yes, I just see Doppelganger has a link there.
Yeah, I got it pulled up. I just kind of wait. I'm telling you, man, I sometimes say, well, I'm hitting on 7 cylinders. Right now, I'm hitting on about 6 of 8. Yeah, what's this about here, Doppy? It says Human Rights Tribunal rules Brampton landlord must pay Muslim couple £12,000. That's dollars or pounds? Pounds is more.
That's dollars.
That's okay. Canadian dollars, I believe.
Oh, Brampton. Okay, I thought that was England. Oh, Toronto. Okay, I got it. So it said it didn't help this case that he shared a joke about a devout Muslim on his Facebook page. Now the small landlord who rented out the main floor of his Brampton home to an Arab Muslim couple must pay them $12,000 doggone dollars for failing to accommodate their religious practices when showing their apartment to prospective tenants. So in other words, they're getting kicked out, and he was showing the apartment to other people, and they didn't like the way he was showing the apartment.
Yep, that's the whole idea. Basically,
so
that he trampled all over their own culture.
Oh no, let me read on down here, Britt, because I just realized skimming. I can skim a lot faster than I can read. I got right to the meat of it. Here you go, Britisher. His sins, John, whatever his name is, refused to remove his shoes when showing the bedroom where the couple prayed, and while he always gave them their mandated 24-hour notice before showings, He didn't always provide the 5-minute heads up they'd requested to ensure the wife was modestly dressed and they weren't in the midst of their 5 daily prayers. This is a mixture of church and state. When the state steps in and says you are fine because you did not, oh man, piss be upon Allah's face, man. What a goat herding piece of crap, child molesting garbage.
Well, if you know, in that regard, I will try and deflect from this story that makes people so angry by a little anecdote that refers to Brampton, because the original Brampton is actually in England, and it's actually a rather sort of, it's a small place. I think it's a small little town. I think it doesn't qualify as a village. It would already be a town, and it has a claim to fame. And that is namely that it's somewhere, you know, in the late Victorian age, they had a station master there, and he was getting sick and tired of constantly having to write out the travel tickets for people which they were buying. So he decided, well, why don't we make pre-printed railway tickets? And he proposed that to his own company, and they weren't interested. So he was convinced he was on the right idea here, and proposed it to the other railway companies in Britain. And eventually they all bought into it. So the railway ticket was actually invented in Brampton. And this is the unbelievable bit. He managed to negotiate such good a deal that they didn't pay him a license for his invention of the railway ticket. He was actually paid royalties per mile. So
Wow.
per mile traveled. So basically, if the railway ticket was for so and so many miles across the network, he would get a royalty according to that. So that man eventually died a very, very rich man. Ironically, today, Brampton railway station doesn't even have a manned station anymore. It's literally just a platform. So the demise of the railway station for which he worked, and therefore, of course, for the company which he worked, is in stark contrast to his success. But yes, it was invented in a tiny little place called Brampton. I remember reading about it, and it just stuck with me. So I thought that's perhaps a happier tale than the one that.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. So he got paid by the mile, but I mean, so it couldn't have outweighed the ticket price.
No, of course not. No,
Okay.
I mean it was fractional.
Okay.
But
by the mile, well, that added up. It had to add
so
up.
he would basically always get a fractional amount according to the miles the passenger travelled who had bought a ticket. And of course, within Victorian times, the use of railways growing so exponentially, you could imagine. I mean, he must have made an absolute fortune.
Yeah, imagine. Both of my grandfathers worked on the railroad. One made a fortune, not doing his job either. It was just something else he did for the B&O Railroad. And then the other was a dispatcher. He had a wonderful life. I'm looking at him right now. Good old Herb. Herbert was his name. But the railroad got a bad rap. In the end, they did steal some land and I don't steal, whatever, eminent domain, however you want to look at it. But they always compensated people so well. I mean, it's hard to argue with, okay, you invented the idea of a ticket, even if it was a fraction of a cent. Like you said, I mean, how many miles are traveled on trains in England? Holy crap, it has to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously had a brilliant idea, and he obviously knew how to negotiate. So yes, he definitely made sure that he didn't lose out there.
Yeah.
But yes, I think the railways in America, I mean, over here it was very much a similar thing. The railways pretty much got a bad name, I think, very much due to some of the tycoons being absolute bastards.
Well, yeah, Harriman I think that was his name. Harriman was, but what are you going to do, man? to become that wealthy, you have to be a bit of a bastard, don't you?
Well, yes, but I think they pretty much, if they weren't ripping off the people, they were ripping off each other. It really did seem as if they didn't have an honest bone in their bodies. So yeah, in that regard, I think they didn't really help themselves. So I think that was, obviously there are other aspects of the railways, the way they treated their workers and just how many people died building those things. But I think primarily what seemed to kind of turn the public against them was just the fact that they seemed to be robber barons.
Well, yeah, they are. They were robber barons. And in fact, we got a load of them now. Nothing changes. I've been in a discussion with someone, the same person that thinks everybody should have health care, even if I'm the one to pay for it. But they seem to believe that somehow or another it was way worse in the 20s and that we're slipping back into that. No, the Gilded Age or whatever. Look, rich people have always been rich. Poor people have always been poor. If you take all the money right now, this is according to, you can just look it up, this is according to many sources. If you took all the money and divided it equally amongst human beings right now, on the outside, folks say 10 years. On the inside, some folks say 4 years, and the money would aggregate back to where it is now. And the reason is because people that are poor, I don't care, I ain't gonna say this respectfully. People that are dirt poor, I don't mean poor like you and I and Dob, Brett. I mean people that are poor. They're that way for a reason. They just, I don't know how else to say it. Do anybody that wants me to feel bad for them, I don't. I got up, man, I've worked for a living until recently because I don't have to work anymore. And who on earth would work if they don't have to? Maybe some people would, and I do work, just not to make money like I used to. Anyway, I know that was a long way around, Brett and Dop, but the poor are poor because of poor decisions they make. The rich are rich because they're a bit of bastards, a little bit of bastard in them, and they save their money and they make good deals and they're selfish and all these things.
I would like to expand on that point that poor are poor because they make bad decisions. Apparently, once you get into the poverty trap, various habits or behaviors that are otherwise perfectly fine become quite detrimental. So it actually takes a lot more to escape the poverty trap than to live a normal, balanced life.
Poverty trap? Who sets the poverty trap? What do you mean? You mean the trap that people set for themselves because they're stupid? What poverty trap? I'm not aware of any trap.
It's an expression for situation when
I understand that. I'm just saying that it's an expression that doesn't make sense because there are so many people that are born poor in poor areas from poor parents that become very, 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 very wealthy. And the reason why, they have the attributes that allow them to gain wealth. There's nothing that's a trap. The trap is people don't think they can do it. They don't try. They don't take risks. There's no trap.
But isn't it to a certain extent that those people who you say who escape poverty, isn't it that those are in a way the ones who break their programming? Because so much has to do with sort of a mental attitude. And you have to understand that if you are kind of born into that surroundings and you basically everyone around you is like that, it is very, very difficult, therefore, to you as an individual to kind of break that programming. Do you understand what I mean?
No, Brett, because if someone is born into that family, that in programming, whatever, but if you have a family, they have 12 sons, all 12. They live in, I don't know, they live in Jellicoe, Tennessee, in the heart of the mountains there and the Appalachians, and they are dirt poor. They make a combined income of $2,000 a year. They eat out of their garden and from the things that they raise. But one of those sons, there's no programming being broke, but as he's growing up, he looks around and the other boys are all happy. They work the field, they take in the can, they run whatever their life is. But you have this one boy that says, you know what? I don't want this. It's not that he's been programmed to not want it or programmed to want it. He just says, I don't want this. Works hard, gets good education, gets out of the area, goes and plies his trade, is a man of his word, and becomes a tycoon on Wall Street. I don't buy into it, Britisher, is what I'm trying to say. I don't buy into programming. Because if that was the case, then none of us would make it. Because we all look at the Kardashians and wonder how, and all the name of all that's good, is Kim Kardashian a multi-quazillionaire because her ass is too big to fit through my 7-foot doorway right here? That doesn't make sense. But anyway, so it's hard for me, Britisher, because I don't believe in the programming.
Can I ask you this question then, and then, you know, perhaps you can sort of see where I'm coming from. What is your chance of becoming a billionaire if, let's say, you are born in South Sudan or Ethiopia?
I ain't from there, but I'm going to say it's probably very, very rare. I would say that you must have a much better chance of being bitten by a shark on dry land.
But what I mean is, you've got a better chance of starving to death in those countries than you have of becoming a quazillionaire, as you put it. Now,
well, go ahead.
If you accept that there are certain places in the world you can be born in where where it is really, really hard, if not impossible, to actually succeed, then the question is, where do you draw that line? You know, at which country or in which poor area of any country do you then say, well, here you could make it? Do you understand what I mean? So if you are born into the slums of Rio de Janeiro, your chances will be better than if you are born in South Sudan. But how good are your chances when you are in the slums of Rio? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I more than understand what you mean.
So
and
there must clearly be some kind of sliding scale whereby the poor of some countries have got a better chance than the poor of other countries. Because, let's face it, the poor of some countries just don't stand a chance.
If I may interject, I believe this is one of the statistics tracked by some worldwide organization under the name of Social Mobility Index, where they are actually trying to calculate how easy or how hard it is to advance up the social ladder. In this case, actually up the ladder of personal wealth. So we may want to look up such statistics and compare various countries.
Only apply to the very poor, though. When it comes to social mobility, this is one of the things which people are saying, that social mobility is declining. And what it means really is, if you compare to, say, after the Second World War, which is when we saw a huge democratization of social mobility, where it became much easier for people to climb the social scale, to climb the social ladder, to get somewhere, to get themselves a home of their own for their family and things like that. That has declined nowadays when you compare it to, the 1950s and 60s. There is absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, here in Britain, the clear sign of it was actually the last government we had, when I don't know how familiar you people are with the school that is Eton over here in Britain. It is the most elite private school for boys in England. Ironically, it was actually once set up by a king in medieval times for poor children. Whereas now, of course, it has got such high fees, you really have to be seriously wealthy in order to be able to send your child there. The reason I mentioned that was David Cameron, the former Prime Minister, went to Eton. His Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, went to Eton. I think there must have been about half a dozen people in his cabinet who were all former Etonians. And I think Boris Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, the former mayor of London, who is now Foreign Secretary, also went to Eton. So I know you can sort of say this is merely anecdotal, and I'll agree with you, that's true in that regard. But it kind of showed, at least at that point, that the people who had been born wealthy were the people who had eventually then succeeded and formed the government. Do you understand what I mean? So when it comes to social mobility, there were not a lot of kids from, you know, Brixton or somewhere like that who had somehow made their way up the ladder. I mean, I think the last person we had like that was John Major.
I take certain issue with using this particular example simply because this is more of an example of networking at work. I mean, networking in both social and professional circles, rather than this particular school being actually example of lack of social mobility. My point is that once, most probably they were kind of social club, or at least loosely defined group of friends, and once one of them got a foothold in kind of politics,
I understand your point. I understand your point.
The whole network was dragged into it.
Eton is actually quite famous for that. So
yes, but
you know,
then again,
over the decades, Eton has staffed the cabinet of the United Kingdom quite extensively.
Well, I gotta throw in too, Brett, because I know wealthy people. I am thinking of one right now, but I'm not going to mention him. I've mentioned him too many times on this, and he's a private guy. But his family is not rich. They're wealthy. They don't count their money in dollars like us. They count it in buildings and factories. They count it in countries, if you dig what I'm saying. They're the Dows. I will say that. And he's a loser. He ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And I know a lot of people like that who come from, well, not rich. There are people in my family that are rich, not wealthy though. I don't have anybody that can say, I own an island. The Dows can say that. They own more than one island. They own factories and towns. They own cities. They own the earth. They're one of the 13 families. It's no measure, Britisher, doppelgangers, no measure. My brother is much more successful than I am, but I bet my bank account is bigger than his. I hope you understand what I mean by that. The size of a person's bank account and how successful they are two vastly different things. I don't believe that poverty is a trap or any indication that someone will remain poor, whether they're from Kenya, because I had a professor in class that's from Nigeria. You mentioned Nigeria. Samuel Pipham, you can check him out. He's very, very wealthy. He's a doctor. He goes back home to visit his mom. She lives in a hut, and she don't want to live any other way. Blabbering on, but I'm going to tell you, whether it is a rich family or went to a great school or had all of these things, it's no measure of success. You are successful if you sell pencils on a street corner in New York City, if that's what you aspire to do and you sell those pencils well. You're a failure if you have $17 million in the bank, but you never realize your dreams, that you maybe wanted to be a bus driver, like one of the sons from the Firestone. He actually is a bus driver. Check it out. He's in fact, he may be retired because he's a little bit older than me. He's get close to 70s. But I know this human being. Firestones are also wealthy. They're not rich. They're wealthy. They don't count their money by dollars. They count it by they're wealthy. But he drives a bus. He is successful because it's what he always wanted to do. He shunned it. So there you go. I just don't like to put myself or you, Britisher or doppelganger, in any box. If you wanted to be, you could. I believe before you died, you could be a multimillionaire if you so desired. I don't think you want to be. I don't think you want the hassle. I don't think you want the responsibility that comes with that. That's a different kind than responsibility. I think you're happy where you are, and I think that you, sir, are successful.
Well, on that note, there's another link that I put up. It's just over the doppelgangers link that we just looked at. You might enjoy just the headline says enough, I think.
I'm getting to it. I'm in a little bit. I'm probably a little bit more passionate. It's not an act today. My brain is boiling in 101-degree fever. Says I acted as a man to get work until I was accused. That's a woman right there.
Yes.
Okay. Very convincing man. In fact, doesn't she look a little bit like Jonah Lomo? I'm sorry. Jonah Lomo was much better looking, but there is a resemblance there. I was acting like a man to get work. Yeah, I don't know if we have to read much more of that unless you want me to. It says Phil Husson wanted to make her fortune prospecting for a precious stone that's said to be 1,000 times rarer than diamonds, but since women weren't allowed down in the mines, she dressed up like a man and fooled her male colleagues for almost a decade until they said that she raped somebody. Isn't that something?
Yeah, some woman accused her of rape.
And of course, the woman said that, you know, that she penetrated her with her penis.
But as I say, so, you know, this is one for the feminists, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
you should always believe the person who claims to have been raped. That's the saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, here's someone who says it was raped and it was her. Well, how could she do that then if she wasn't a man?
Oh, but you got to believe that victim, right? She needs to go to prison because she probably wanted to rape her. She probably wished she had a penis, so it's just as bad.
So I just thought that was an interesting case that came up on the BBC website.
It is. And I noticed that the stones they're talking about sure do look like sapphires. They're calling them something else, tanzanite.
Tanzanite, yeah.
The crazy thing about it is that should the woman in question actually end up going to jail, she would be quite at risk of being raped herself, given conditions that are commonly found in jails.
Yeah, if they put her in a male jail, well, the girls get raped too by girls, so you never know.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine that is not she gets in trouble, okay? Britisher, you know who I'm talking about. And she went to jail for 6 months, and she got out, and I went and picked her up, and I took her out to eat, and, you know, was trying to introduce her back into the world in a nice way. And so we had some drinks, and I was like, well, at least she didn't have to worry about, you know, getting raped. And she was like, are you kidding? And I said, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I didn't get raped. She said, but you would not believe the fuckery that goes on behind the walls with the females. I was stunned. And I'm not going to get all graphic and in detail, but she did. And she started telling me how it was in there. And man, look, I'm starting to blush now, and it's not the fever. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, I hate jail. It's a cruel and unusual punishment. The only people that should be in jail would be animals that could not be in public without hurting someone. And there's so few of those people on earth. I would say they could open up the doors and release 98% of everybody in prison.
Which would quite possibly be the case if the war on drugs was to end. Because basically at this point, let's face it, the drugs have actually won the war on drugs, so we should just as well call it the end and be done with it.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you on that one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just a war on drugs, gentlemen. It's a war on your friends and your family, because whoever we are here, I don't have to ask. Doppelganger, you have a family member that's addicted to some drug. Britisher, you have a family member that's addicted to some drug. I am addicted to some drugs. And I know I have family also that are addicted to drugs that are different than I do. That are considered illegal. How could we go on a war? And everybody wants to see the heroin addict put in prison until the heroin addict is little Tommy or little Janie, you know, their relative. And then all of a sudden they care and they have empathy. We need to grow some empathy as a species is what I believe.
Actually, now that you asked, yes, I do have an extended family member that's addicted to a common drug. And it was a curious case the first time I met him. Basically, he gave me this impression that he was actually either completely unaware that he was both addicted and high at the time we were talking, or perhaps he was a master liar and basically could lie to himself just as well as to me. Either way, that was a crazy situation to me. I was a young teenager back at that point, and the guy, obviously high, was claiming that no, he's completely clean. He's been clean for a long time. Blah blah blah. And this is a situation where he needs not jail time, he needs medical treatment by some proficient psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm not quite sure which one.
Do you mind if I ask what kind of drug he was on?
Alcohol.
Oh,
plain old alcohol.
No, that's the worst one, brother. That's the one that gives me
this.
I know that if the Britisher had his way, I'm going to be transparent because I don't care. My life's an open book for the most part. If the Britisher had his way, I would never have another beer.
Or maybe I
Because-
misremember, and
Ice
maybe
cream.
it wasn't alcohol, but some opiates. I'm not 100% sure right now. But either way, something kind of mundane.
Well, you
Well,
see,
but
there are
again,
there
I
are
wouldn't say
worse
alcohol.
things. There are worse things. You see, there are those people who have a beer and can't help but have another beer. But then there are the really terrible people, and those are the people to whom it's not enough to just have one scoop of ice cream, but they need another scoop of ice cream.
You got me. And you know what? And it's got to be vanilla ice cream made with white milk. The racist.
And I guess you would thank the waiter for bringing it to you by using the OK hand sign.
You
right?
know it. Very racist. So do y'all remember who Ray Nagin is? Do y'all remember Ray Nagin?
No.
No.
He's the mayor. He was the mayor of New Orleans when a very famous hurricane hit New Orleans.
Oh,
called
yes.
Katrina.
Okay. Yep.
And he's now in prison. He got in trouble because some of his family were getting contracts, and they proved that he really didn't give the contracts out. But since he was the mayor, and they said that but this is what the point is. Ray Nagin's a great guy, I think. He's Creole, which means that's a combination of black and white. No matter the variation, I think he probably was more black than white, but he was obviously Creole. He has both ancestry. So he was like, the great thing about New Orleans down here is that we have got the perfect mixture of white and black. We're like a delicious glass of milk when you put the creamy chocolate into it, and you have a delicious, wonderful glass of milk, chocolate milk. And I was like, holy crap, did he just say that? And that's pretty much, that was a paraphrase, but that's pretty close to what he said and how he said it. Nothing happened to the guy for that, and which I don't think should have. But then, boy, I tell you, it wasn't just the white folks. I think the black folks hated him for that more than anybody. So anyway, check out Ray Nagin.
I would like to actually give shout outs to people on the stream chat. Drunken Sailor says 2 scoops of ice cream keeps the fake news a coming. Yep. And then we have Defrater Watcher. Breaking news: Trump uses 2-ply toilet paper. Selfish bastard.
Very good. Very good. I like that. I've got one here I've got one here on my comment section of the week that was, and it's because I brought up the scoop gate in that one, and you know of Blanche Devereaux, don't you, Olga?
Oh yeah,
the regular on my my comment section. In it, she just says, "I sound like a broken record, but the left never ceases to amaze me. The president gets 2 scoops of ice cream. Oh, the horror, the injustice. I think Hitler once asked for 2 scoops of ice cream. It's now confirmed. Trump is the next Hitler."
Did they have ice cream back then? No, I don't think Nazis ate ice cream. But yeah, I'm sure that Trump is Hitler. And besides that, if every analogy, however that was funny, mate, what it really does to me when I hear that stuff is like, I've read a lot of the comments on your channel with the little satire we put together. I read all of the ones on mine. I comment on a lot of your art is not only imitating life is imitating art, and the things that they are. I don't want to bring up a bunch of politics. I keep thinking about Comey and everything Trump does. Oh my goodness, he's a racist. He's Hitler. I don't know how the man does it, but most presidents, even 100 days in, you can see that they look like they aged a year. He's thriving on this shit. It looks like he lost a few pounds. He's looking all pink of.
Let me ask you this: do you know of the ice cream preference of Obama?
I know they wouldn't say that. You'd be racist.
George W. Bush?
No.
Clinton? Bill Clinton?
No, none of them, man. No.
Bush
we just
Senior?
know what kind of girls Bill like to get head from. That's
Bush Senior?
no.
Do you know if any of those presidents preferred Thousand Island dressing to creamy vinaigrette?
No.
So why are you being told this about Trump?
It's because they want to. I don't know because
it is so such ridiculously inane information. But
Let me
what
try
is-
answering that one.
Go ahead.
I believe it's simply because there were no worse news to be presented at that point.
True, yes, but I think what is so interesting is that they tried to somehow imply that this meant something.
I don't get
basically
I don't get
the fact that Trump is being treated differently in front of his own guests. That kind of shows what for an egomaniac that he is, that he doesn't care about other people. That seemed to be the implication from all this. And
You know
just
what's
think, come on a
curious to
moment,
me?
an extra scoop of ice cream, and you're actually trying to make out that reveals a trait of his personality.
You know what's curious to me? Supposedly all those media outlets are huge corporations, and what gives? Aren't they accustomed that the big boss gets a better deal when it comes to catering and all other amenities? Are they run like some little socialist countries or what? Are they all equal in their corporate world?
No, of course. It's not as if sort of the chief executive of these major broadcasters would have a limousine. No, that would be
No way.
But no,
that wouldn't be very progressive, wouldn't it?
In this case, it's not even as if he gets something special. I mean, a different salad dressing. If that is the end all of his privilege, then he seems to be quite a humble guy. I mean, it's quite clear that obviously the chef must have thought this particular salad dressing goes best with it. But I know that the president doesn't like that, so we'll give him his favorite. I mean,
let's not forget that back when he was on campaign trail, there was some manufacturer outrage over the fast food he ordered once in a while.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he went to the I'm gonna brain fart the name. I've been to both of them. There's two very famous Philly cheesesteak joints in Philadelphia. He went there, and I watched the whole thing. I think it was on Vice, or I don't remember where it was, but I watched the whole thing. They showed him ordering a cheesesteak, and then they cut away to him eating a cheesesteak. What they didn't show you was that Donald Trump bought about 400 cheesesteaks. He bought every one of the reporters a cheesesteak. Everybody there, everybody. If you were standing on the sidewalk the day that the benevolent, beloved Donald Trump showed up and bought cheesesteaks in Philly, you got one from the future president. You didn't know it then. But anyway, look, I believe this. He's got his problems and whatnot, but look, the guy's never smoked a cigarette, Britt. Doppelganger, he's never had a drink of whiskey in his life, never done any kind of drug. What
are you talking about me again?
He loves food, and so give the man a fucking hamburger. Let him have an extra scoop of ice cream. He's never had a shot of whiskey in his life. I mean, the man deserves it. That's all I can say.
Let us see the Huffington Post, inimitable Huffington Post, whereas supposedly Donald Trump preferred his steak well done, apparently the worst possible way.
If I recall.
Curiously enough, around the same time, Huffington Post posted another article in that supposedly, if you judge people by the way they like their steak, you may be a Trump supporter. Unfortunately, that article is gone gone for good.
Well, this is too far for me, because anybody that would eat a steak well done they shouldn't be eating steak. I like mine wriggling and trying to get off the plate.
Well, no, Trump apparently likes his very well done and with some ketchup on top.
Yeah, I heard you say that. I was just trying to block that mentally out of. If I made somebody a steak and they put ketchup on it, I would throw them out of my house. I'm not even kidding. I would say when I see ketchup going for the steak, I would be like,
telling us how you would assault the president.
No, I wouldn't assault him. I don't think I said that. That's a blatant lie. But when I bit steak, Britt, it's usually filet. Once in a while, I'll get a T-bone or a Delmonico, which is just one, a T-bone, and the Delmonico is the New York strip, and then the other side's a filet, but whatever. So I've got a nice cut of meat there. I put it in the fridge, overnight, covered with just a little bit of salt and pepper on it. I've taken time, is what I'm saying. You now have a $30 piece of meat in front of you. If I see the ketchup bottle going toward it, I would just politely say, if you're going to ruin that, I'll eat it. I will go get you some hamburger, and you can put all the daggone ketchup on it you would like. Oh, is that too harsh? No, I mean, but I have respect for food. And there are some things that, let me put it this way. When I was young, we weren't allowed to make sandwiches at the table. So if you had bread there and you had some meatloaf there, or if you had whatever, lasagna, I don't care what it was. If you took the bread, pulled it apart and put stuff in it and began to eat it like a sandwich, you'd only do it once. But my mom would say, I didn't make this meal for you to make a sandwich out of it. And so maybe my upbringing, maybe I'm in the culinary trap, so to speak.
By the way, I wanted to share another nugget from Huffington Post. It's an older one, but still kind of relevant. Apparently, back in 2015, they decided they will be covering Donald Trump's campaign in the entertainment section. Instead, we will be covering his campaign as a part of our entertainment section. Our reason is simple. Trump's campaign is a sideshow. We won't take the bait. If you are interested in what Donald Trump has to say, you will find the next to our stories of Kardashians and Bachelorette.
Well, that's fine, because guess what? The doggone Huffington Post is a freaking joke. They're not a real news agency. They are a freaking joke. HuffPo? It sounds like something you do for $15 when you're down on your luck at a truck stop.
Well, and it took them until the December 7 to change their mind and actually move covering him back to the political column. We all know what happened around that time, right?
I like that.
At least they had the integrity to admit their mistake.
When it comes to the entertainment value of American politics, we have to now concede that we have the former presenter of The Apprentice as president. What is also now clear is that Bruce, aka Caitlyn Jenner, is considering running either for Senate or the House of Representatives, and that The Rock has announced that in 2020 he wishes to run for the presidency.
I've seen that, Dwayne. Do you think that's real, British, or you think that's serious?
I could well imagine that he intends to have a go.
I say, why not? We have a pretty good example of Arnold Schwarzenegger being a rather successful politician on his own.
You cannot compare Donald Trump or Arnold Schwarzenegger with Dwayne The Rock wrestler. We can't compare Jesse Ventura with him either. We're talking about, for one thing, most people might not know it, but Arnold was very, very wealthy before he ever started in movies. He owned apartment complexes. He was a very good businessman. He's from where he's from. Austria.
Austria.
Yeah, they really prize enterprise. And anyway, he did not, the money that he has now, I'm sure a lot of it came from the movies. But when he did Terminator, he was already very, very, very wealthy. I will go again and say Donald Trump. Okay, Britt, he was on the Apprentice. He needed that job like you need me to kick you in the groin. He did. I mean, I'm sure it made him money too. Don't get me wrong, but it made him money. Like if I went and got a job washing dishes right now, that would make me money. But I need that job like I need you to kick me in the groin. Jesse the Body Ventura, he helped build the WWF, was what it was, and now the WWE into what it is. He was a business partner with Vince McMahon, who, even though he seems like a crazy clown, he's actually an excellent, intelligent, forceful businessman. So
talking of
Arnold
Schwarzenegger, do you want to hear an interesting little tidbit about Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Please, yeah.
Well, you see, Arnold Schwarzenegger obviously is, as you said, from Austria. So his mother tongue is German. Well, in Germany, and basically for the entire German-speaking world, they synchronize the movies. So basically, they will get an actor to basically speak the words in German in such a fashion that it roughly matches the lip movements. And of course, they will then seek to always hire the same actor so that the voice of a particular star always remains the same in the cinema. So Schwarzenegger, he volunteered. He sort of said, look, I would quite like to do my own voice in German. I'll do it for free, no problem. Except, of course, Schwarzenegger being from a rather rural part of Austria sounded to German ears like a complete hillbilly. So they declined. So they actually could have had Arnold Schwarzenegger voicing Arnold Schwarzenegger, but because in German his accent is so how should we say it sounds like a farmhand, if you know what I mean. So they decided,
Yeah, I just didn't.
we can't really have the Terminator sounding like Sheriff Buford T. Justice. So we'll
thought
pass
you
on
would-
that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, they didn't say. I always thought it was going to be another melon farmer thing, but
You like the melon farmer one, don't you?
I'll never forget that, where you said that, like, the blaxploitation and the motherfucker, just the only thing they could find to fit it was melon farmer. I can only imagine, like, Dolomite coming down, like, be like, "Hey, what up, melon farmer?" You know, what?
Precisely. Except, of course, you also have to understand that in those British dubbings, not only would you have Shaft call some policeman, you know, a melon farmer, but at the same time, the voice would just so slightly change, because obviously they would have to fight someone.
Yeah, because Dolomite ain't going to do it. You know, Shaft ain't going to do it.
So they would
No,
have to
that's
just find someone with a slightly similar voice to just intercede with the word melon farmer.
No, and the most thing I learned about the Schwarzenegger thing is, I guess, because I'm American and Amerocentric in a lot of ways, and English is my first language, so I understand that. And when I hear English people, Britons, they have all these different accents. But I guess I kind of was so Amerocentric that I thought all Germans sounded exactly the same. I did
No
too.
way.
When you said, I was like, "Huh, some of them do sound like hillbillies to other." Imagine that. You know, that's why wouldn't it be that way?
Oh yeah, they've got very, very strongly differing accents.
Let's not
And,
forget that Germany was united from several distinct kingdoms just before the First World War. So by no means they are a monolithic culture.
Well, I don't think it was just before the First World War. It was about 1860, I think.
Okay, sorry.
It was Bismarck who, I think he changed one word in a telegram from the Prussian leader to the French king. He altered one word deliberately, and with that change of one word, it became an insult, and therefore the French then felt obliged to declare war.
Wow.
And basically, Bismarck then basically got together with all the other German kingdoms and said, "Look, the French are coming, whichever way you look at it. So frankly, we can either fight them together and we can win, or you can each fight them on your own and we can all get slaughtered." So like that, he kind of he presented them with a fait accompli and managed to get them to unite for the purpose solely of fighting that war. It went very well. They absolutely murdered the French. But
Not the first
having
time,
then
not the last
successfully
time.
prosecuted the war, for some reason Bismarck didn't let them all break up again into their individual little kingdoms. And that was the creation of the German Reich.
Right. In any case, I've just realized, going back to the Bruce or Caitlyn Jenner running, that we would end up with having a transsexual conservative, in this case, Caitlyn Jenner, and in the same race, not necessarily the same district, a very progressive transgender, what was it? Brianna Wu. That's a curiosity, isn't it?
Oh yes, well, I mean, you know, anything's possible these days in the land, what is it, the
Land of the free.
the home of the brave and the land of the free. Yes,
Right.
more and more it sounds like a place where you have to be brave to live there,
Or even to choose one candidate
or
over
a sex
another.
for that matter.
Oh well.
Sorry, I had to go get some water. Believe it or not, I drink water.
By the way, is that a caricature that Nachi did?
Oh yeah, that's yeah. I switched it back and forth between that one and the portrait. I really like the caricature of that. I can pull it up so you can see the whole one. I thought I showed that one to you.
No, you haven't. You haven't. I saw that your avatar changed, but I sort of assumed that more than likely came from Nachi.
Yeah, I try to bounce it back and forth between the like I said, the portrait and the caricature. Let me pop this up if I could. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I love this. The way he did it with my beard. The guy is something else. I mean, I've seen lots of caricatures. I've seen lots of art, but he has a way. I mean, he's even got my nose crooked. And the one I'm looking at my teeth, you know, and the portrait that he did of me, and my teeth aren't straight. I got like this one's not straight. I got that one, and this one's not a real tooth, and I'm like smiling big. He did my teeth. I mean, the least the son bitch could have done was made him perfect. No, I'm just teasing. He made my teeth exact. They're. In fact, I was showing a girlfriend of mine that portrait. I was bragging, and she was like, "Man, that looks just like you. He even made your teeth crooked."
You gotta hand it to him. He's a very observant guy. And also recently he released a new video talking about some rather somber subjects, but meanwhile he's also giving us an overview how he's drawing his art. So it's really worth checking out. I'm posting the link to the stream chat.
Yeah, I love it when he does that. He did the one with Johnny Rotten and had an interview from Johnny Rotten. The whole time he's drawing Johnny Rotten with a big Union Jack behind him, man. Johnny Rotten's badass, Brit. He's one of my favorite Britishers ever. You know, he don't take no shit from nobody.
Yeah, if you remember, I believe they were the ones, the Sex Pistols, they made the song God Save the Queen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the government, together with the BBC, colluded in making sure that it didn't reach #1.
Ban that. They tried to ban it, yeah. But the people love it. In fact,
the BBC quite frequently banned tracks. So it wasn't just that they were banning Johnny Rotten. You know, it wasn't just that they were banning the Sex Pistols. But what I'm talking about is not the ban. I'm talking about the fact that the BBC, obviously, they were the ones who were effectively in charge of Top of the Pops, you know, of basically releasing who had topped the charts. And it's believed that they and the government effectively went out of their way to assure that God Save the Queen did not reach #1, because it would have, I think, interfered with some jubilee, with some anniversary of the Queen being on the throne. So they decided that this had to be, under all circumstances, prevented. And it's widely believed that they deliberately sabotaged God Save the Queen getting to #1 at the time. And I think Johnny Rotten sings quite a song about that.
Yeah, that's what you just said is accepted as fact in the music world. I believe that's a fact. I also have heard that when he met the Queen said that was one of her favorite songs. So I don't think that, I don't think Queen Elizabeth had anything to do with that. It was the other people.
She might also have just been, she might have just been sarcastic. Because she may have been referring to a somewhat different version.
Oh, well, that's like the real one. Well, and I mean, like I said, what you said about the BBC keeping that off of #1, that's accepted as fact. But I'm thinking that a lot of shit Johnny Rotten says is not accepted as fact. But God save Johnny Rotten. He's a great guy, but you know, you can't always be honest. It's no fucking fun. I lie all the time. I heard somebody tell me once, they were like, I never lie. I was like, you got a boring life, dude. I said, as a matter of fact, you just lied, so you're a liar. Because everybody lies. Everybody lies. I watched a thing that said like the average human being in a span, if they're having a conversation in a span of an hour, will tell 7 lies. I hope I don't that many, but of course I believe they're also including that when you caught the fish and it was this big and you say it was this big, that is considered a lie. And that's what I do. I like to stretch the truth a little bit. It makes things more interesting, but at least I'm transparent about it. Yeah, I don't know.
Then again, was that claim that you were transparent about it, was that a lie?
Yeah, of course it was. You never know. Now I got you wondering, right? I mean, that's what life's all about, is the wondering. I do love not only Johnny Rotten, but the Sex Pistols. I'm probably going to jam that as I go out here in a minute. But yeah, I'm hanging in here, boys, until for like 15 more minutes. I'm going to say my tagline, and I'm going to go back to bed. Not even a joke. I'm going to take a hot shower first, and then I'm going to watch the week that was.
Is there something happening later this evening? with this being a Monday?
No, man, no. For one
No.
thing, I don't have anybody lined up, and for another thing, that's
Okay.
going to go back to that's going back to twice a month, mate. It is too much for me to try to. It is. It's too much for me to do, right? To be perfectly honest, and to do a good job. And then I also have to definitely, yeah, I see that in the side. I'm working hard on that. And other people. To me, it won't matter. I want to have Schmeckel on, but that's got to meet your approval from the Cunt stream. I know how you feel about him, but they actually do some really serious things. And I explained to him that if he comes on a Monday, that we're not going to want to do the Cunt stream thing. We're going to want to have a serious talk about some of the other serious things he does. And like I said, I shouldn't even have sprung that on you like right now. But you know how it is, Britt. You and I have to get together. We have to agree on who it is. We have to talk someone into coming on. And then we have to put on a good show. And I don't feel that it's fair to you and I or to our guests to do one every week because I'm not prepared enough for it. And I'll never have it again to where there'll be one. There will always be an alternate guest. And I will tell the people, and someone said, well, then you know that you're the alternate. In fact, it may have been you, Brett, that you know that you're the alternate. Well, that's how life goes. And if someone was offended, well, they don't have to say that they would be the alternate. But as someone that's trying to bring entertainment to folks, I can't say someone's going to be here and then they don't show up and get shit-faced drunk and pull my penis out. I have to be ready to deal with these things in a more productive way. So no, long way to say it, as always. But now it's going to go back to twice a month. I think that's good for the big show. And then I can have church on Monday like I like to.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Sorry, Britt, I didn't tell you that. I would have told you earlier, but I didn't really decide it until I was going to have somebody on today. That didn't fall through. But man, I when I got up and tweeted you, I tweeted them right away and was like, it ain't going to, I can't do a good job tonight. I'm surprised that I made it this far. I'm not kidding. This is sweat glistening on my hand right now. I'm shaky, sweaty. And I have to go to the water closet soon, or there'll be a terrible, terrible accident in here. Because I can't believe I've been away from it. Look, I don't know, that's getting gross, but I have been chained to that in my bed for 16 hours or so. Seems like a lot longer to me. I didn't sleep. I mean, once I got up and the nausea, I kept laying there and thinking, oh Lord, what's wrong? And then I thought to myself, well, I'll get up and I'll have I have some brandy. I thought I'll have some brandy. I only use it when I'm sick, believe it or not. That's why I have the brandy. I have a little brandy. And as soon as I thought that, I could hardly make it to the, to come up because the thought of beer or brandy at that point was like, so the ogre's sick when the thought of alcohol makes him vomit. That is a fact.
British.
Well,
I started this program basically accusing Ogre of using homeopathic medicine because he just opened one and only bottle of beer at that point to cure his disease.
And in what regard is that I can't even say that. Homeopathic medicine?
Homeopathy.
Well, the assumption was that the illness itself is to some extent related to yesterday's drinking.
Yeah, that would be. But do you know what homeopathy is, Britt?
Well, it is basically these extremely diluted substances, which are that much diluted that eventually there couldn't even really be a molecule of the substance within the bottle that you're supposed to be taking.
Yep.
Yes, but there is more to it. There is more to it in that the substances.
Yeah, there's more to it. It don't fucking work.
The substances are picked in normal amounts. They produce the effects similar to the ones that they are supposed to cure.
Look, man, the mind is a very powerful thing, doppelganger. And if you take people that have no idea what you're doing and you give them some homeopathy and you don't tell them what it is, you just completely blind. There's none. And if you, I'm trying to think of his name right now, but I'm having a brain seizure. There's a guy that has been offering $1 million. Randy, the amazing Randy. Anybody know who he is?
Nope.
He's debunking magicians, right?
Yep.
Older guy with white beard.
Yep. He's came out as homosexual. He pretty much discovered Penn and Teller, and he's been offering this for years. If anybody can show that homeopathic medicine works, he will give them a check today for $1 million. But now, and there's no dowsing either. Water witching doesn't. If he's had many people trying to find minerals with a shaky stick or water with that, they could get. And anybody that can do it, they hear me, oh, water witching's real. Well, go get the person that can do it. Go to the Amazing Randy, and he'll give him $1 million. So no, none of that shit's real, man. It's all fake. Homeopathy is bull crap. You can't douse water with a stick. Nobody can contact the dead. It just doesn't happen. There are no psychics that like, oh, how about a name? Is it Charlie, Matt, Bill, Tom, Dick, Harry, Henry? And they go through 1,000 names, and finally it's like, oh yeah, my grandmother's name is Rose. And like, oh yeah, you contact the dead because you just spit out 35 names, and one of them happened to be with. Give me a break. So I rambled on, obviously, but I don't like charlatans.
If I may interrupt, because there is something that actually is not quite charlatanery, it's quite the opposite, it's good art. So apparently our friend Drunken Sailor has created a pretty nice playlist with some oldie-timey songs, good stuff, and I would like to everybody recommend that checks the playlist out. I'm posting the link again in the stream chat. So
I'm looking, but I wouldn't say just old timey. She's got Mountain Goats this year, No Children. She's got Autoclave. My heart's an autoclave. Hey, Drunken Sailor, my heart is an autoclave.
But from what I can tell, there is no rendition of What Shall We Do with the Drunken Sailor.
Oh, I'm sure there might be one. Have you already looked all the way through it? It's not on there, huh? Man, she's got the Indigo Girl. She has great taste. Aqualung. How old are you, Sailor? You said you were 17. You have great taste in music, sweet thing. The Vapors. Mickey by Tony Basil. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. She wasn't born when that was written, man.
I see that Drunken Sailor is trying to blame me for the playlist. No way. I just kind of told her to do so, and that's it.
Oh,
all the playlist is her doing. Well,
that's cool. That was very cool of you to do that, though. Like I said, she's got good taste. I'm falling out. You know what? I'm gonna play a song because I'm delirious, and then I'm gonna do something else, which means I'm gonna go get toes up. Britisher, is that how you say it there? Toes up. That means I'm gonna lay down and die, right?
Along those lines, yes.
Because I'm gonna get toes up. Well, I played this song the other day, and what happened was I got a strike. And or we're not a strike, but a warning, whatever. Big Brother came and found me and was like, "You will not play Blink 182 videos in the background with no music while you talk trash with your international ilk." It was like, wow, how did you even know I did that quick? But apparently, as I speak right now, they're watching us, folks. They're watching what we do. Algorithms, I don't know what it is. I tend to believe that they have a very large room at Google headquarters, several thousand square feet, full of really, really nerdy people that are just watching. But that's probably, I don't know. I really don't know how it happens, but it's hard for me to believe that it's like just a computer program or something with math. I mean, how in the world would they do that? But whatever it is, they got me. A garter snake crawls lazily through the tall, yellow-headed sour grass. There is cool, clear water in a tall, clean glass. Light hits the glass sideways and comes through the water tilted. I see the condensation on your hands. I feel the glaciers melting in a warm, soft wind. Oh, it covers up everything. On the day your love came screaming through me, you had oranges and lemons in a canvas bag beside you. 7 different kinds of life were welling up inside of you. You smeared citrus pulp all over me. Felt okay. My sweet home of Louisville's 1,000 miles away. And then a warm rush, it hits my mind. Oh, it's coming in from behind. On the day your love came screaming to me. in the fresh light of day, I felt something, oh, it slipped away. On the day your love came screaming through me. And you know what? That was the Mountain Goats. Drunken Sailor.
I have only 3 words for you.
Go fuck yourself.
Bloody show off.
Oh, well, I like music. I do like music. I'll be honest with you, Britisher. That is harder for me to do than you think.
That was
I know
quite
you probably.
impressive.
I know, but I don't mean hard like difficult with the. I mean it's harder for me to. When I'm playing music and people are listening to me, it's much. I imagine if I asked you to walk outside right now and strip down to your underwear. I'm thinking that I feel the same. I feel naked and observed in my nakedness, because the most precious thing to me is my art. And when I share it with people, it's usually because they're paying me or because I really, really, really like the person. So I'm just playing this for people I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. It's more difficult. Some folks just say, they think, oh, the ogre. He loves getting up and just shaking his pecker at everybody. And he's just, going to show his ass again tonight. What a guy. He don't have no stage fright or anything. That's not true. I thrive on stage fright. I do like the feeling. But when I picked the guitar up and to play today, my heart started pounding a little faster. And as I'm singing and playing my guitar, I always wonder, well, am I good enough for you?
Well, judging by reactions on the stream chat, people say, bravo, that was pleasant to listen to. Well done, sir. And being sick on top of it is impressive. So, yeah, by all means, thank you very much.
I sure appreciate you folks that have said those nice things about me. I'm not even in the chat right now. I'm only on half cylinders, but I'm gonna end like this. Is there something you boys want to say before I skip out of here?
Well, no, I think we've pretty much covered all the bases, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, just wanted to say mad respect from everybody here, because in spite of your illness, you brought us entertainment. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. And like I said in the beginning, I started this out as fun. Sometimes it's still a lot of fun for me. Sometimes it's not. I remember telling my wife, one day I'm going to go to sit down to do this, because I was really stoked when it first started. I was like, I couldn't wait to go live stream. And I said, one day I'm going to get ready to sit down and do this, and it'll be like the other jobs I've had in my life that I was excited about in the beginning. And there will be a time where I sit down in that chair and turn the camera on and go, ha, 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 and I won't really want to be there. That day was today. Does that mean that I shouldn't do it? No. We don't have a huge crowd of people that come here. I think it's respectable. It's a small congregation, but it's a respectable little thing, and I feel obligated to continue it, because what kind of human being would I be if I said I was going to do something and didn't do it? So everybody's going to hear that out of me for a while. I'm going to have one last swaller here. Britisher, God save the Queen. God bless your mom. I hope everything's good there in the cloudy island. Doppelganger, your home planet must rock. I hope you take me there in your spaceship someday. And Drunken Sailor, I love you, sweet thing. Keep on listening to good music. Check out that, if you like that Aqualung, check out Songs from the Woods by Jethro Tull. It's one of the best albums ever produced by a man or a woman. Here's to y'all. And remember, folks, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge you'll never be able to forget about it. Because Britisher, Doppelganger, Drunken Sailor, congregation, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life in the Church of CAC will depart from you. Sydney Rough Diamond, Filet McMagic. Hopefully next Monday, brother. God bless everybody!